Hello and welcome to this edition of Live by Design, a program where I hope you will find content that is informative, inspiring, and insightful. I'm your host, Muadi Dibinga. I'm a life strategist, a motivational speaker, and today is Friday, October 11th, 2013. How's it going? How are you? I hope that all is well in your world. I am taping today from Washington, D.C. I've been here since Sunday or Monday, just fresh off of a fabulous performance, a twist and shout with Origination Cultural Arts Center, which took place last weekend in Boston. The show was incredible. If you missed it, you missed a really good time. The pieces all came together really nicely. The young people were fabulous. We had alumni coming from, out of Boston and throughout the city, some of whom actually surprised me. And it was the best. It was an awesome evening. So if you missed it, again, you missed a really great show, but you'll have another opportunity because we do it every year. And next year, Origination is celebrating its 20th anniversary. So save the date now. It's the first Saturday in October. We're only doing one night. And then we're going to do a youth program. So you adults out there, you will only have one night to see this fabulous performance. And I will be dancing along with my sisters. So that should be something worth seeing, in and of itself. So again, twist and shout. Fabulous. Thank you to all the wonderful dancers, to everyone who attended, to everyone who volunteered. It was just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Speaking of events, I will be hosting my first COVID event called Upgrade Your Life on Saturday, December 28th, 2013 at the Roxbury Community College Media Arts Center. It's going to be a fabulous opportunity for those of you who are looking to bring some real change into your life, to come out, get some tools, get some information, get some resources that are really, really going to help you create the life that you want. Now, those of you who know me and know the way I think, I've often said that I'm not a fan of New Year's resolutions because, the New Year comes, we make these big grandiose plans, and then, nothing happens. I am, however, a really huge fan of using the momentum of the coming new year to lay a really solid foundation through some real goal setting, some real planning, to allow you to come closer to having the life that you want in the new year. You can bring about change. You don't have to stay shackled to who you are right now. You don't have to stay shackled to who you used to be. And as I've always said, I always say, your dreams don't have an expiration date, but they do have a best if used by date. So if you have some dreams that you've been holding in your heart, that you've been holding in your mind, if you want to bring about a change, or you're just feeling stuck and you want to break out and try something new, come to this event. It's only 2 hours, but we are going to really kick it out the box. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be you're going to have a little bit of insight. Hopefully you'll walk away with a new perspective on your life, but you're also going to walk away with some really specific things that you can do to make 2014 one of your best years ever. Okay, so again, it is December 28th. 2013, Upgrade Your Life, Roxbury Media Arts Center. If you have any questions, you can always email me at mdibinga@muadiunlimited.com. You could also visit me online at my website, www.muadidibingaunlimited.com, and I'll get you all the information that you need. All right, so I hope that I see you there. Let's take a moment. So let me take a moment to get myself together. It's been a long week, and I'm still recuperating from the show, but I'm feeling good, and I'm happy to be back. I almost didn't make it. I promised myself that I was going to be consistently taping and putting up these videos weekly, and so today is Friday, so I'm getting in under right under the deadline, but I'm here. And today is the second part of our conversation about the 3 A's of love. I bet that woke you up, didn't it? So when we first started this conversation, we examined the first A of the 3 A's of love. The first A being acknowledgement. And if you missed that, you can feel free to pause this video now, go back and look at last week's episode. I believe it was episode 13, and you can get caught up. And just as a reminder, when we're talking about love on this program, we're talking about the big L love, the overarching love. Romantic love is definitely part of that, but it also includes friendship love, love between among your family, love among your peers, even love with strangers. Okay, so if you missed it, look at the first video, get caught up, and when you get caught up, you can come back here. For those of you who did catch the first segment, today we're talking about the second A of the 3 A's of love, and that is acceptance. Acceptance, which I believe is probably the hardest principle to apply when it comes to relationships of any kind, but romantic relationships in particular. I looked it up because we want to be impeccable with our words. And the word acceptance means to believe or come to recognize a thing, an opinion, right, as valid or correct. So acceptance means, in this context, in this setting, to believe or come to recognize your partner, your friend, your mother, a stranger, as valid and correct. And when something is valid and correct, it needs no correction. But we have a tendency in our relationships to try to correct other people and to try to put square pegs in round holes to meet our own needs, rather than looking at them, looking at the truth of who they are, looking at them as being valid and correct. And based on what we see and based on what we experience, then make the decision about what type of form our relationship with them should take. When I do my workshops, I often tell people that you should choose your mate. I'm going to focus in on romantic relationships just for a moment. That you should choose your mate as you would a used car. When you get to the lot, the dealer will tell you, you take this car as is. Every ding, every imperfection, any scratch, any scrape. Kick the tires. Open up the hood. Do what you need to do, because once you take this car off the lot, it belongs to you. And you might trade it in somewhere else. And you might decide you don't want to take it for a long ride. But you can't bring it back here because you're accepting it as is. And what that means is we don't go to the dealership, buy a hoopty, and think that we can turn it into a 2013 Lexus or Mercedes. But that's what we do sometimes when we pick our romantic partners or our friends or people that are going to be in our lives. We see them, we meet them, we get a vibe off of them. There's something about them that we're digging, that we're feeling. And then when we get them into the real world, when the romance period wears off or the honeymoon period wears off, we start to see things about them that we want to change. Now, let's be clear. Relationships are about negotiation. When you're bringing two people together or a group of people together who have different upbringings, different experiences, even in the same family, siblings can be very different. I'm very different in a lot of significant ways from all of my siblings, although we have a lot in common. So we recognize that when people come together, there has to be an opportunity for negotiation. A morning person who wants to get with a night person, there's going to be some negotiation. Somebody who drinks socially and someone who doesn't drink at all, there's going to be some negotiation, unless that drinking thing is a non-negotiable for the other party. But so I'm not talking about little small habits. The acceptance piece comes into the core value, the essence of who that person is. And we have a tendency to try to change people, to meet our own needs, to meet our own egoic needs, rather than seeing them for who they are and then making the decision as to whether or not I want to be in relationship with you. And if I do, what kind of relationship I want to be in with you. We have a tendency, let's go back to these romantic relationships for a second, because those tend to cause us a lot of pain. We have a tendency to see someone, we're feeling them and they're feeling us. We start to date them. After a while, we discover things about them that fundamentally don't feel good to us. And instead of having the courage and enough self-love to step out and say, listen, I can't be in a relationship with you. This is not working. We can really be friends and mean it, right? And maybe we have to take a break or whatever, but come back to that friendship at some point. But we can't be in a relationship because there are things about you that are not spiritually compatible with me. And I accept you, and I'm not going to try to change you, but I'm going to honor myself, and I'm going to honor my values. And this form of relationship can't be a romantic one. It's going to have to be a friendship. Or you might have one of your girls or one of your boys who you're really cool with, but then as you get older, you start to see maybe they develop a drinking problem or a gambling problem, or something comes into their life that's out of alignment with a real core value of yours. You have to make the decision, right? And have the courage and a self-love to say, I accept you for who you are. I'm not going to try to change you. I want to honor you. I want to respect you. But I'm also going to honor and respect myself. So while I accept you, the form of this relationship has to change. I'm not going to dog you out. I'm not going to talk about you behind your back. But I'm also not going to try to change you and twist you into what I need you to be for me. Because I recognize and accept you as you are. Oftentimes when Maya Angelou used to say, I think she's the one who said it, I believe, when people show who you are, believe them. I always add a little twist to that and say, believe them and act accordingly. One of the most unloving things that you can do to another person is constantly send him or her the message that he or she is not good enough. That they're almost there, but they're not quite good enough. I had a friend of mine, well, we were kind of friends, and she was dating somebody. This is years ago, and she doesn't watch the show, but I'm still not going to mention her name. And she was walking around, I found out, with a list that her boyfriend at the time, who's now her husband, if they're still together, had created that for her to improve before he could propose. A list. To be more feminine, to wear her hair a certain way, to wear her clothes a certain way. There were some things on there about like her faith and her religion. This whole laundry list of things that she needed to change about herself, core things about herself in order to be in relationship with this guy. Now I try to talk her out of it because, I'm nosy. Should have been minding my business because at that exact time I was having my own challenges with somebody else. But we'll talk later about how we look at other people's lives as a diversion so we don't have to deal with our own stuff. That's a conversation for another time. Woo! What was my point? Oh, my point is that I'm going to call her Elizabeth, just so I have a name to attach to it. That's not her real name. So Elizabeth was walking around with this Liz. That dude was like, if you want to get with me, if you want to be married to me, these are the things that you must change. I grabbed my pearls and I tried to talk her out of it. I was unsuccessful, but that's an extreme example of someone trying to twist and shape somebody into something for their own purposes. Anna was an example of someone allowing herself to be twisted and turned into something that she was not. She was an outdoors girl. She was a Tims and Tiva girl. She was a hiker. She wasn't the go to the salon and get your hair done and get your nails done every 2 weeks. There's nothing wrong with that kind of woman, but that's not who she was. That just wasn't who she was. But because she wanted to get with this guy, and because this guy claims he wanted to get with her, these are the things that she was willing to do. And these are the things that he was asking of her. But here's the thing. Here's the joke. He wasn't in love with her. He was in love with a vision of her that was not consistent with who she was at that time. And he was trying to change her. And maybe her lips were saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, I will do this. But in reality, that's not who she was at her core. Loving someone unconditionally means that you accept him. You accept her as is right now in this moment. And you are willing to support him or her on his or her personal journey towards the person they were born to be. Unconditional love means I accept you right now as you are, your core values. I see you as being valid and correct and not in need of correction. And I am willing to support you on your personal journey as you define it, as you see it, towards the person you were born to be. I don't take my values and try to superimpose them on you. I don't take my way of being or way of seeing the world and demand that you see it the way I see it in order for me to feel good or to meet a need of my ego. That's not love. Loving someone, whether it be your spouse, a family member, a friend, or a coworker, means accepting them. Seeing them as valid and not in need of your correction. We take people as they are. We see them, we experience them, and based on what we see and based on what we experience, we make a decision from courage and a decision based on love as to what type of form our relationship with that person will take. One of the most unloving, unkind things that you can do is to constantly tell another person whether it be your significant other, your partner, your friend, your family member, whoever it is to constantly tell them they're not good enough. And when we are constantly trying to change them or correct them or improve them and constantly trying to tweak them and show them a better way, you are telling them pretty much that who they are right now in this moment is not good enough. I might love you when you get these things together. That's not love. That's not love. When we talk about acceptance, again, I accept you for who you are right now in this moment, and I support you on your personal journey, whatever form, whatever path it may take towards the person that you become to be. And it's an act of real courage, and it's an act of real self-love on your part to see someone and use what you see, use what you experience to determine what your relationship with that person is going to be. You don't have to get with everybody who you think is fine or who you're feeling at the moment, but that's what we do. We think we have to marry or be in love with or have romantic relationships with people because they meet certain criteria, and then we spend 90% of our time trying to change them or complaining about them. And don't think that just because you don't complain to their face, or don't think that just because you don't talk about them to their face, maybe you're talking about them to your friends or to loved ones about your significant other or your friend. Don't think that those feelings don't get into your relationship, because what you're carrying in your consciousness will seep into that relationship. So the second A is acceptance. We accept people for who they are, and we support them in their personal journey towards who they were born to be. And if you cannot accept them, I'm not talking about negotiation. I'm talking about accepting who they are at their core and seeing them as what? Valid and correct. If you cannot give them that gift, leave them alone. If you cannot accept them, if you cannot give them the gift of total acceptance and seeing them as valid and correct, leave them alone. Otherwise, you're inviting suffering into your life. Otherwise, you're inviting suffering into their life. And even if you stay together 50 years, a relationship, friendship, romantic partnership, whatever that relationship is, if it's based on feelings of lack of acceptance, if it's based on consistently wanting that person to change, you will not have the richest experience or a rich experience or as rich as an experience as you could if you would leave them alone and get in relationship with people who you can accept and who accept you. And the first step towards that is truly accepting yourself, because we can't give what we don't have, right? And we can't have what we're not willing to become. It's like this circular thing. So the first step towards accepting others is to really truly accept yourself, and then extend that acceptance to the people who you want to have in your life. Okay? That's the message for today. I accept you. If you're in my life and I say I love you, I accept you, quote unquote, flaws and all, and I expect you to do the same for me. All right? That's the message. So this weekend, because it's Friday, why not really look at your relationships, all of your relationships, with fresh eyes and see if there are things that you can do to really express your acceptance of your loved one. Really express that I accept you. You will be surprised how that can just shift the whole energy and the whole trajectory of any relationship that you're in, okay? Let me know how it goes. You can Facebook me. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn. And I think I might do Instagram. I'm not sure. I'm on the fence. Some young people told me that I need to get it, but I'm going to wait and see on that, okay? In the meantime, until I see you next time, have a fabulous weekend. I will see you very soon. And until I see you again, bring the best of who you are to every situation and every person that you encounter. Okay? Take great care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.